Hello and welcome to another episode of Idiotsplaining, the podcast where I deep dive into things none of us asked for, but I'm doing it anyway because the microphone setup cost me a lot of money. Today's topic is a place that has traumatized more people than a family holiday in a caravan park: secondary school. Yes, the place where dreams go to die, friendships are formed through mutual suffering, and education is supposedly the main objective. But let's be real, it's mostly about who can survive the most embarrassing moments and live to tell the tale. Now get to class, you horrible lot! First of all, let's take a brief history lesson of secondary schools, because what is comedy without a bit of utterly useless background knowledge? Back in ye oldie days, there were no secondary schools. Kids were too busy either ploughing fields or being child kings. But sometime in the 19th century, the Victorian era rolled in, and people thought, hey, maybe we should teach these kids something other than how to use a scythe or sit on a throne. A place where young minds could flourish, or more accurately, be stifled by overly strict headmasters with canes who thought teaching algebra was the same as cooking. So in 1944, the Butler Act came along and made secondary education compulsory in the UK. That's right, kids, before that, you could have avoided school altogether. Imagine a world where you could say, sorry, I can't do my algebra today, I'm busy herding sheep. Now we have what's called the Key Stage 3 and 4 curriculum, which sounds fancy, but it's just a way to make you learn how to work out the length of a triangle's hypotenuse and forget it immediately after the exam. Then the glorious invention of the comprehensive school, which translates to, we don't really know what to do with all of you, so here's a place where you can be equally confused and overwhelmed together. You've got your bog standard timetable full of subjects that you'll pretend to care about for exactly 5 years before moving on to a career that uses none of them. Thanks, education system. These days we've got academies, grammar schools, and something called free schools, which are not free of the stress, trauma, or the occasional wedgie. So it turns out that historically, secondary schools have been a perfect storm of well-meaning adults trying to make kids learn, while the kids are just trying to survive without getting caught passing notes in maths. Let's not forget secondary schools were built on the belief that kids aged 11 to 18 can handle being locked in a room for 6 hours a day. That's where we went wrong. Now, for you Year 7s, the baby giraffe stage, you're thrown into this massive institution that feels like Hogwarts, but with way more chewing gum under the desks. And don't even get me started on the tie. It's a colourful noose you keep tightening incorrectly until some kid in Year 10 tells you how to tie it properly, right before they steal your lunch money. By now in Year 8, you think you know the ropes, but the ropes have changed. You're figuring out where the science block is, but now you've got to survive the jungle of social hierarchy. You're slightly taller and slightly braver, but still terrified of asking to go to the toilet in class. Plus your form tutor still doesn't know your name, and you're beginning to think they never will. Now Year 9 is where things get serious. Suddenly you're expected to choose your GCSE subjects. I mean, you're 14 years old, you don't even know what you want for dinner tonight, and now you've got to pick your life's destiny? Do I want to take geography or history? Am I more likely to care about tectonic plates or Tudor monarchs in the future? Neither, probably. Now Year 10 is the I should probably start revising for GCSEs, but I won't phase. You begin announcing to everyone that you're going to start revising soon. Spoiler alert, you won't. Instead, you'll spend more of your time perfecting the art of doing nothing while complaining about how much work you have to do. Now Year 11, the home stretch. GCSEs are looming and you can practically hear the Jaws theme playing every time you enter a classroom. This is when people start getting inventive with their excuses. My dog ate my homework becomes my hard drive mysteriously corrupted my PowerPoint presentation on the Industrial Revolution. Spoiler alert, no one believes you. And now you've entered 6th form, congratulations, you've survived the wilderness. Now it's time to sit around in your clothes pretending that wearing jeans to school makes you an adult. You feel superior to the Year 7s, but you still can't figure out how to write a personal statement for UCAS. Life's wild like that. I'll tell you the worst thing though, parents' evening. Oh, the moment when teachers gather to deliver the academic equivalent of we need to talk. It's a night where your parents will find out just how close you are to being grounded for the next millennium. Every parents' evening starts with your form tutor. This poor soul's job is to give a general overview despite not having spoken to you since year 7. Well, your child is present. They seem to exist in the school. This is then followed by awkward eye contact and your parent pretending they understand what showing promise in design and technology means. Now, maths teachers are the real MVPs at parents' evenings. They always start with, he's a bright student, but... Yeah, the classic but. It's the sound of disappointment wrapped in false hope. After the but, they'll inform your parents that spending most lessons doodling on the margins of your notebook is apparently not a form of geometry. Then there's English. This teacher will give your parents a 10-minute TED talk on your ability to write an essay without avoiding eye contact with you at all times. He has great ideas but lacks structure, which is translated to, you don't know what a comma is but you've somehow made it this far and that's impressive. Now, science teachers, well, they're wild cards. Either you're Einstein or you've set something on fire and are banned from practicals. Well, he's got potential, they say when looking at your parents as if to say, are you sure you raised this child? Because we found him trying to microwave metal in the lab. And then PE. Great teamwork, lots of energy but needs to work on following instructions. Also known as you ran in the wrong direction during football and tackled the goal post. Now what about the other stuff? Well, let's talk romance, the pinnacle of secondary school social life, and the reason why half of you have really bad attendance records on Fridays after a breakup. Year 7 relationships are usually non-verbal agreements. Two people sit next to each other in maths, exchanging Pokemon cards, and bam, they're dating. By year 8, things escalate. Relationships are now defined by the swapping of Haribo in lunch break, cryptic messages like, do you like me, over MSN Messenger. Bet none of you remember that. What follows is an entire year of awkward hand-holding and being too embarrassed to make eye contact. Now, year 9 is when the heartbreak starts. You see, puberty's hit full swing, and now suddenly everyone's a hormonal mess. Relationships break up over things like someone accidentally looking at another person in geography. It's basically EastEnders, but with worse acting and more acne. Year 10 is when you start using Snapchat to flirt. The high point of sophistication. Nothing says I'm into you quite like sending a selfie with dog ears and a caption that says, why? Relationships are shorter than a TikTok video at this point, but each breakup feels like the end of the world. Shakespeare would be proud. Year 11 relationships are serious though. Now you're having deep conversations about life plans for about 2 weeks. You'll break up right before the mock exams because you need space to focus on revision, translation. You just realise you've got 10 years of maths to learn in 2 weeks. And then 6th form, when relationships somehow feel more mature but also still involve binge watching Netflix together instead of doing homework. Romantic dinners are now McDonald's fries in the common room, and honestly, that's a vibe. And let's not forget the final boss, GCSEs. It's like spending 5 years climbing a mountain only to get to the top and realise the mountain's actually on fire and you forgot your shoes. And also, you've never learned to climb in the first place. It all starts with mock exams. They're just dress rehearsals for your panic attacks. You go in thinking, well, it's only mocks, how bad can it be? The answer's way worse than you could have imagined. They'll tell you it's fine if you fail your mocks, but deep down, you know that if you get below a C, your mum will start packing your bags for a life of exile. Next, exam technique sessions. These are essentially an hour of someone telling you not to write in blue ink and to answer every question even if you don't know the answer. And then you spend the next few weeks preparing to write 1,000 words about a novel that, honestly, you've never ever finished. And don't get me started on revision timetables. You spend 3 hours designing one that's colour-coded and aesthetically pleasing, and then you don't follow it at all. Suddenly it's 3 AM the night before the exam, and you're googling how to pass GCSE maths without knowing any maths. Spoiler alert, you can't. Now the night before is a whirlwind of regrets. You've got highlighters, past papers, and a sudden realization that you never once paid attention in physics. The exam itself is a blur of ineligible handwriting, and hoping that if you write enough nonsense, the examiner will give you points just out of pity. And finally, the end of it all, results day. You open the envelope, and no matter what happens, it's either, "Oh my god, I passed!" or, "Well, I've always wanted to be a reality TV star anyway." And I mean, if you get on the news, then, that's already set for you, isn't it? Alrighty, it's time for the part of the show where I answer your questions, even though I am not qualified to give advice. Let's see what you got this week then. First question, how do I survive year 7? Okay, the biggest survival tip that I can give you, never trust anyone. Okay, let me rephrase that. Never trust anyone who says they know a shortcut to the canteen, because you'll end up in the janitor's closet with 3 other confused 11-year-olds. Also, don't stress too much about getting lost. Even the teachers don't know where half the classrooms are. Worst case scenario, just follow a crowd and hope for the best. And next question, what's the best subject to pick for GCSEs? Well, the best one is to pick which one requires the least amount of effort. That's a fact. You want to avoid anything involving numbers or fire. Art sounds easy, but then you realise you're spending 40 hours painting a bowl of fruit. Now, history's fun until you have to memorise 300 years of war. So, in conclusion, drama. Pick drama. Everyone gets a participation trophy for just turning up. Next question, how do I impress people in 6th form? I mean, firstly, why would you want to? And then secondly, alright, this is an easy one, get a job. No, genuinely, get a job. No one cares about your personality in 6th form, they care about whether you can get them a discount at Mucky D's. Also, wear glasses. Instant credibility. Next up, should I bother revising for mocks? Okay, the worse you can do in mocks, the better it is for you later. You set the bar low, so when you do slightly better in the real thing, everyone's impressed. It's called managing expectations. You're very welcome. Next up, how do I survive the parents' evening? The biggest tip that I can give you, bring snacks. Teachers, respect kids with snacks. Also, go in with a tragic backstory. You know the ones, the X Factor ones. It's nothing too wild though. It's just something like, I've been feeling overwhelmed with the amount of homework. And then also sprinkle in some fake tears. Your parents will feel sorry for you, your teachers will feel awkward, and you'll get out of there unscathed. Just make sure that your teachers or parents do not listen to this podcast. And then finally, is secondary school the best time of your life? No. Secondary school is like being on a reality TV show but without the chance of winning any money. And it's home time. Finally. Also, that's it for the, well, I guess, school era, as next time we'll be heading on into college. I'll be back next week for the bonus bits and the week after for that episode. In the meantime, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you may find me at Ross Hoare. That's Ross and Hoare. You can also send me suggestions of things to Idiotsplain once the back to school specials are all done on the platforms, or contact me at rosshoare.com. The music of the podcast was borrowed, from Incompetech and Stream Beats. The Incompetech track is called Werq, spelt W-E-R-Q. Everything you need to know is in the description of the podcast. This is also an independent podcast created by myself, so thank you for supporting small creators. If you've enjoyed this, share it with your friends and force them to follow or subscribe. One last thing, if you live somewhere that's a decent time to wake up early, then why not listen to the Radio Folkestone Breakfast Show with me, Ross Hoare, every weekday and Saturday morning from 7 AM UK time. You can check out how to listen and various other things, including visiting the What's On guide, checking out the 24/7 schedule, and getting involved with groups at radiofolkstone.com. Massive thank you for listening to this episode. If you liked it, be sure to follow or subscribe so you get the next one when it becomes available. And we'll see you then.